Hey, Lions versus the Vikings recap, man. What are y'all thoughts on that game? What was more impressive, the Lions or the Vikings being like disappointing? What did y'all think about that?
I think the Lions. I just want to start it off before I get into any point. Amik Robinson. I hope I say your name right. Amik Robinson. You that dude. Not only did you take the challenge, but you dominated that challenge. 15 matchups, 10 man-to-man coverages, 5 targets, 2 receptions. I mean, Sam Darnold missed on a couple of throws, but for the most part, I mean, Amik Robinson, he stood up to the challenge against. I mean, if you want to argue one of the best receivers in the league, I think he's second. But that's a top 2 receiver in the NFL, and he went toe to toe. Also, he had bracket coverage over the top. He had some help, but him holding down his end of the bargain, man, I mean, that was nothing short but an impress. I mean, that was probably one of the best cornerback displays I've done seen all year long on national television with all the stakes number one in the NFC, and he took the challenge.
They've been going against each other since high school too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've been competing.
I definitely think them boys probably was. Now, shout out to the Lions. I think they had a great win, but I definitely think the Vikings was a little bit more disappointing to me. You got the number 1 seed on the line. Lose, you got to go on the road. First game of the playoffs. I thought the Lions would come out a little bit more, focused, I would say. Sam Darnold was off on a couple throws. They had multiple opportunities. They had hella interceptions. I think they had maybe 2 or 3. Don't quote me on it.
Who you talking about? Lions?
The Vikings.
The Vikings.
They have 2 or 3 interceptions.
Jared Goff only had two.
He ain't done none.
No, I'm saying the Vikings threw interception.
The Vikings caught him.
The Vikings caught 2 interceptions.
From Jared Goff,
From you.
So that's why I'm thinking. I feel like they kind of didn't capitalize on their opportunities as far as having that opportunity to have the number 1 seed. Now, granted, looking at the Vikings record, they lost to the Lions twice, the Rams once. I definitely think they'll be a formidable playoff opponent, but I definitely think if a team comes out, plays hard, they could be going home just like anybody else. So I'm a little bit more disappointed in the Vikings' output, more so than the Lions winning it.
I think I'm very impressed with the Lions. I think to say they had about 14 defensive players on the injury report, Alex Anzalone coming back was a big improvement. I mean, run game, kind of covering the middle. I would say in that whole game plan, I think he was kind of their weak link in a sense. I think Sam Darnold kind of shied away from a little bit to get his outside targets going, but also I don't think he took into account they were being bracketed. So it was down there like 2 double teams on your top 2 guys. You got to work the inside game, and he just wasn't accurate. They zeroed him 13 times that game, and obviously Sam Darnold against pressure looked like New York Jets Sam Darnold. So I think Sam Darnold's agent, I know we done seen it on Twitter, he was screaming, no, because all the money that he was losing from his performance after he done, put on a masterpiece all season long. Right. But Jahmyr Gibbs, man.
He's a problem.
Jahmyr Gibbs, man, I'm telling you. It's hard for me, and there's so many good running backs. I think we really got to just take a second just to, appreciate what we're getting at that running back position. When they try to bury it under the ground, they tried to devalue it to the lowest of the low. They had to go fight for their formidable pay. Mm-hmm. And first round pick, they called them crazy. This dude went out there 23 carries, $139.
Couple times.
Yeah,
3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
And he got a receiving one, too.
He ran for 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he was
They couldn't
balling.
stop that little arrow route they was running with
At all.
They couldn't stop it.
5 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, he was the offense. And like I told you, Cam, and I'm glad that we had that Sunday Night Football game as a prime example of why I say Jared Goff is not a top-tier quarterback. Jared Goff, he did not play well that game. I think we can all agree to that. But what does the Lions have that not too many teams have?
Supporting cast.
A great supporting cast that's able to pick him up when he's not playing well. And he leaned on the best O-line.
What do I say every time?
He leaned on the best O-line in the game. And they got Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's crazy because I promise you, when they originally started running that football, man, it was a lot of negatives. It was a lot of 1 to 2, but Detroit stuck with it. Yeah. And that was the most impressive thing that I picked up from that game was not only can they beat you playing flashy with all the, the knickknacks of going on, but they can ground and pound, play hard-nosed, dirty football, and grind it out with whatever team in the NFL. That's including AFC, Kansas City too. But
sorry ass Texans. Whoever. they take care of business. Shit, my Cowboys too. They take care of
don't forget.
So,
don't forget.
One thing I can honestly say about the Lions, and I really appreciate them, you know, as much as they got the injuries and been through it, you know, all season, they just find the next man up. Next man up to step up. They go in, they don't complain. It don't matter where you play them at. Like Dan Campbell always say, it don't matter where you play us. Like, they come out ready to go every time. They find a way. If they're hurt, if somebody's not playing. And I think as the playoffs go, they're only going to get healthier. They're going to get more guys back. David Montgomery's coming back in the divisional round. So I think the Lions with home field advantage, they got a chance to run the table and go all the way to the Super Bowl.
And I think
they're in the best position to do so.
And with that's a big key point too, that David Montgomery coming back in the divisional. There's no way in hell you was going to probably risk him in the wild card, no matter how big of a game that would have been if they were to lose that game against the Vikings. So the fact that they could get additional rest for guys like him and the rest of their IR guys that could potentially show up in the playoffs, that's huge. And I was very impressed with Detroit. But at the same time, part of me wants to lean towards being disappointed in what the Vikings were able to do. And I don't change my viewpoint on how I look at that team because, I mean, they're still a squad that went 14-3. Like, that's a talented-ass team. Yeah. But for as many trips as they had in the red zone and for them to walk away with no touchdowns, no trips inside the end zone, all them times they was inside the 5-yard line and they was missing the easiest of throws or they couldn't scrape up a couple of yards just to get into that paint and dirt. It's like, at what point are we going to sit up here and just understand how disappointing that was? Yeah. Because that's just, as an NFL franchise or any football team, when you're that close to the end zone and you can't get in and you settle for 3, field goals don't win you games. And it's pitiful.
No, for sure.
And I think, too, when they down there on that, you know, red zone, 20 on in, and especially as close as they were going for on that 4th down, throwing that ball to Jettas, and he dropped that pass. I think that's a little disheartening for the team as well to be able to come back to that sideline, know you didn't take advantage of your opportunity, and ask your defense to go back out there and stop those guys over and over. So, I mean, the Vikings kind of disappointed me with their play this weekend. You know, they got, you know, multiple opportunities to, you know, show it up and play again this weekend. I think they're playing on Monday against the Rams, so we'll see. But I definitely thought they would come out and at least put a better output out, considering they were fighting for the number 1 seed as well as home field advantage. So we'll see how it goes.
Me personally, I thought it would be a closer game. I didn't expect it to be a blowout.
Not at all.
30, and we had the Vikings winning this game. I think we wanted them to be number 1. You know what I'm saying? We talked about that last episode. So it's honestly crazy to see them get blew out 31-9, and they're a very talented squad. But obviously, it was an off night for Sam Darnold. He looked like he was out there seeing ghosts. The man was 18 for 41, had 166 passing yards. That's unlike him. That's probably like the worst game he's had this season. You know what I'm saying?
By far.
Yeah, for sure. And Jared Goff, he was 27 for 33.
And they played him well the first time. So, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they can compete with those guys.
And to be fair, I mean, the game, honestly,
like an off game.
Yeah, to be fair, the game was still like relatively close up until that second half. I mean, once they missed that field goal, then it was just all bets were off at that point.
Yeah. 3 field goals, man, that's crazy. And the Lions have the talent, but not the Lions, the Vikings have the talent. So it's like Sam Darnold got to make those throws, man. It's like some of those were catchable. They were, you know what I'm saying? But I understand like how it is being on the field. Sometimes you miss time or pass, you know what I'm saying? Hand placement might be a little off. So like that's very important. Like, you know, that's something to consider. You know what I mean? But he has to make those throws, and the receivers, they have to make those catches, man. Like, it's some of those things that like they could have caught that. You know what I'm saying? He threw some passes that were catchable, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, you're not going to make every catch.
I believe at the end of the day, I feel like the Vikings tried to play Detroit's game. Yeah. And I feel like that's where they screwed up at. Detroit is the most aggressive team in the league. They go for it on 4th down. They're the number 1 4th down. Like, they go for it on 4th down the most in the NFL. And Minnesota is the least. They're the least aggressive team on 4th down. So it's just the fact that they played outside of their game, outside of their comfort, because they were trying to keep up with Detroit, and eventually they ended up getting them beat instead of you taking your points. And instead, I mean, the run game is never going to be there. I mean, I think all NFL teams need to see this video right now. That run game is not going to be there playing Detroit. They stuff it with no matter who's in there. Me, Big Cam, Versi. They're not running on Detroit. It don't matter.
Aaron Glenn, man.
Hey, Aaron Glenn, you will be a head coach, man. And obviously, we done. Hey, New Orleans not a bad.
I'm capitalizing on this playoff run because, truth be told, I think both those coordinators are gone after this year. Only person I could potentially see coming back is Ben Johnson.
Hell
if he
no.
doesn't get a ideal situation for himself, but
he got teams looking at him already. He already going to talk to teams.
I think him and Aaron Glenn are both gone. So if I'm the Lions, I'm trying to capitalize on this window right now. Go get the big one, call it a day. But I mean, the way the Lions look right now, shit, I think they could beat the Chiefs.